Now, these people are fanatics. You can't educate them. You're wasting your time. We've seen this all over the world, and it's come to a head now because the governments have not reacted. Perhaps if we had a few more Trumps around the world, then we wouldn't be where we are now.
The thing I would say, Lawrence, sorry, just to clarify there, and I hope you're not saying this, but look, you can't blame all of Islam. You can't blame all Muslims.
Well, they said that with Hitler and the Nazis and the Germans, my friend.
Well, they were. Look, I just think that's a very tasteless comparison. I'll go to David in Swindon. David, hello.
Yeah, hello there. Yeah, I think we spoke a couple of days ago. I don't want to talk of any violence, and I totally condemn it.
Yep.
But Anthony Blinken is, a hypocrite. Talks about rule-based orders. America has started about 50 wars since the Second World War. But anyway, they're still blockading Cuba, still medical supplies. But let me just talk about what Iran can do. Rishi Sunak's very good at sending ships to the Mediterranean to form a blockade so nothing can get in. But I'll tell you what Iran will do, or could do, is they could actually block off the Straits of Hormuz. 30% of the world's oil goes through there, and we would see oil at probably about $180 a barrel. So he doesn't actually have to do anything. He doesn't have to supply any bombs or anything. He just says, "Oh, sorry, you cannot come through the Straits of Hormuz. I'm going to," because they own it.
David, listen, that's
okay.
Look, I'm not. No. I want to just ask you a question. I'm not a strategist by any means, and I take at face value exactly what you said, and I'll even try and remember to ask our next guest at I think 3 o'clock, Philip Ingram, about that. But I've got to say, what should be done to deter Iran from entering? Because you and I could probably agree, if Iran directly enter this conflict, that is not a good place to be.
No, not directly. It's absolutely not.
It's not good enough. They'll fund Hezbollah to chuck potentially 100 missiles across.
Oh, yeah.
Or thousands of missiles.
My point was, I think they'll try and do it subtly, in inverted commas, by putting pressure on the oil prices. So what was your question to me again, sorry?
Well, I suppose my question to you is, what can the Allies do? Wrong term.
Yeah.
The NATO forces do if they get involved, but the Americans and the British who've got ships there, what else could they do to deter Iran from entering this conflict?
I don't think there's anything they can do, except maybe, I think not go in what I'd call heavy-handed. Now people will disagree. I think that's what they're waiting for, is for the ground invasion to start.
Well, they've certainly threatened that. No, they've threatened that, David. That is what Iran have threatened via the UN, according to a report in today's Telegraph. But in many ways, you shouldn't necessarily take that literally. It could mean that they just actually openly encourage Hezbollah to send horrific number of missiles into northern Israel, so anything could happen. That's the dilemma, though, is that the strategists probably think sending some ships down there is saying, hey, don't forget, you start playing games, we're here. Let's wait and see. David, good call to set off this session. Thank you very much indeed. Just before I go to our next caller, just read out a couple of messages that have come in. This is talking about Alex Crowley, the former advisor to Number 10, was questioning Khan's sort of leadership to support the Jewish community, comparing it with the New York mayor who was, shall we say, profoundly robust in his support for the Jewish community, and the action that took place that we all must have terrorised so many people, lost so many lives. Cliff Brasher said, Khan is hardly likely to risk upsetting his voters, is he? An escalation in the Middle East will cause riots, not protests, across our towns and city, and probably terrorist atrocities. I don't want them broadcast, but will our authorities please make urgent and deeply serious preparations for what is probably coming? Well, you know, put something on Twitter and it is broadcast. I have no doubt that our authorities are all over it. I don't know if it will mean terrorist atrocities. We face that as basically a daily risk anyway, and we hear about the ones that sadly we don't get right and don't stop, but our security forces do an amazing job stopping so many from happening that we don't hear about. And here's Matthew Trowell. I don't think it is helpful to talk about Palestine as if it's a country. There is no such country as Palestine. Lots will disagree with that. This was rejected by the PLO. They are self-proclaimed Palestinian people. One day, if they seek peace with Israel, he means Palestinians, the country of Palestine may exist, the twin state solution. Let's go to Lawrence in Essex. Lawrence, hello, the channel's yours.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. This is pretty intense stuff, but I think it's important people get a chance to have their voice. What can I do for you?
I'm ex-military.
Right.
I served in 79 to 73. I don't want to say where.
79 to 83?
Yeah.
Yeah.
79 to 83.
Yeah.
Cut a long story short, we're in big trouble, mate. I'm not saying there's going to be a third world war, but escalations are going to be, you've never seen it since the Second World War. So people, get prepared. It's the governments around the world that have caused this, not the smaller picture in Israel. And hug your kids and look after them.
Why the governments around the world cause what's happening now? Just explain that to me.
Well, they know what's been going on with terrorism and the Islamic faith, okay? I'm not religious at all. I'd like to call myself a Christian, but I believe in being a decent person and living your life. Now, these people are fanatics. You can't educate them. You're wasting your time. We've seen this all over the world, and it's come to a head now because the governments have not reacted. Perhaps if we had a few more Trumps around the world, then we wouldn't be where we are now.
The thing I would say, Lawrence, sorry, just to clarify there, and I hope you're not saying this, but look, you can't blame all of Islam. You can't blame all Muslims.
Well, they said that with Hitler and the Nazis and the Germans, my friend.
Well, they were. Look, I just think that's a very tasteless comparison under the circumstances. But there were Germans who did not support Hitler.
These people are worse than Nazis.
No, I'm sorry, you cannot generalise like that. You are part of the problem if you generalise like that, Lawrence. Don't you see that?
I've been in activities where I've seen action, okay, and seen people get shot through the head. I was wounded. I don't want to say where, but I still suffer from it. I know these people want to destroy
these people. Look, there are some horrible people out there. The horrible Hamas.
Evil.
They are
evil.
Yes, Hamas are evil. I get that. But you are generalising, and it's not doing your case any good because it is wrong.
Because there's a lot of people on the other end of this phone that would agree with me.
They do not agree. All Muslims and all of Islam is bad.
You're lefties.
No, I'm not a lefty, and I don't think they're all bad. I think you are undermining.
Well, you're thinking the same as your Tory friends that are not Tories, they're not Thatcherites, they're globalists.
What, do you think all Tories... OK, all Tory... OK. All right.
If people in power would do their job properly...
And what is their job, Lawrence? What are they meant to do?
Well, they're supposed to pass laws and implement them.
Yeah, and they do. You just don't like them. That's the difference. And you're in a democracy, and you have the ability to say that.
That kill little babies and slits their...
Yes, and Hamas are disgusting. I totally agree with you.
And so are the Palestinian people. That's my opinion.
Well, Lawrence, that is why, unfortunately, you are part of the problem and definitely not part of the solution, because...
You're the problem with your views. You don't like... We're going to have a fight. We're going to have a war against the Islamic State. It's coming. And personally, the sooner the better.
Listen, Lawrence, we've had a war with the Islamic State. We absolutely had a war with the Islamic State, and we took them... No, Lawrence, listen, Lawrence, I've got a little control here, and it can turn you down so I can get a word in. All right? Now, listen...
Don't talk over me, then.
Well, I'm giving you a chance to say, but you don't answer my questions, and I can assure you...
I've asked your question.
No, you haven't.
You don't like it.
No, honestly... honestly, Lawrence, I think you're making very, very many presumptions here, and they're not very helpful. I have challenged you. Lawrence, OK, Lawrence, right, we're just going to do this, Lawrence, and you're going to... Right, Lawrence. Now, let us just deal with what I said to you, Lawrence, and let's see if you can come back with an answer, because no one can hear you now, so stop ranting, OK? Lawrence, you are part of the problem because you say every Muslim in the world is effectively the same as Hamas. And if you believe that, as I say, you are part of the problem, not part of the solution. Because I've yet to meet anyone else who thinks that. And actually, your ignorance on the subject is only going to fuel the problem further. There. Now, what do you say to that? You're still going and you're not listening. You're still going and you're not listening, mate. Come on.
You wait and see in the next 2 weeks when it all kicks off.
All right. And it's all going to be every single Muslim in the world is going to do this, right?
OK?
All right. Yeah, OK. There must be a dodgy line there. Oh, we're coming up to the break. Seriously, I'm all for discussion, but first of all, it has to be two-way. I genuinely think he was still talking whilst I was trying to ask him a question there. I'm sorry. Anyone who wants to come on and tell me that he's still going, apparently. Let's just have a... No, didn't hear that. I've just broken the switch as well. Listen, anyone who wants to come on and try and convince me that every Muslim in the world is effectively the same as Hamas, right, please come on and I will discuss that with you. But the reality is, I don't think anyone else will, because that was such a ludicrous argument to make. Peter in Durham. Peter, I'm sorry I spent far too long on that previous call, and if we need to make more time for you, we'll try and do it. Peter, what can I do for you?
I'm listening to everything and hearing all of these people, Sunak, etc.
Yes.
Standing up for Israel.
They made yes, they are standing up for Israel. You're right. The leaders are, basically, yeah.
And the question is, it's a blank check. The stand up for Israel is being treated as a blank check.
Right.
How many people have to die before Sunak removes his blank check?
You see, I think you make a really good point, because actually that I think is what has been said publicly. I think that reflects the state of times. But look, Secretary of State Blinken, for the Americans, he's talked about operating within the law. I understand, I haven't seen it today, so I could be wrong, Peter, but I think even Sunak has issued effectively using appropriate response. So, look, I totally agree with you. I understand why these responses were made. We must never forget that this could be a real tragedy for many, many civilians in Palestine. I do get that point. Peter, I'm sorry, a couple of seconds if you want to come back on that.
Back to your man who was just on, that every Muslim is dangerous.
Yeah.
There's many people out there who believe that everybody in Israel is dangerous.
OK, listen, right, OK. I'm literally coming up to the break and I know I'm going to get cut off. Keep your calls coming.